So today we're doing a Hachis Parmentier. So it's essentially like a shepherd's pie sort of a dish. Very traditional, you know, simple sort of dinner night kind of a dish. Anyways, yeah, so very simple dish. Growing up, I remember my mom used to do this quite a bit, maybe like almost once a week or something. That's a very, you know, easy dish to make and great to use. Kind of leftovers. So it's essentially like a shepherd's pie, like I said. So it's a potato dish, hence the name Parmentier. So if you don't know who Parmentier is, he was essentially like a French scientist, I guess, at that time in the 18th century, so 1700s, died early 1800s. And he's famous for promoting basically the use of potato as a dish. Back then, you know, potatoes were in Europe. And they were consumed, you know, in some of Europe, Spain, Ireland, Germany, but not in France. And so he was a prisoner for a while and was fed potatoes, I think, in Germany back then. And when he came back, he made it basically his life mission to promote potato and, you know, make it available to people. So that's why we, you know, call it Parmentier. And now Hachis, so Hachis comes from haché, which means like chopped essentially. So think of a hatchet in English, for example. That's the same etymology, an axe, right? A hatchet. So haché is like this chopping action basically. So it's essentially chopped meat with a puree, with a mashed potato, right? So this is really all it is. Now there's a bunch of different ways. So for the potatoes, you know, you use whatever you have. So in France, yeah, for puree or for mashed potatoes, we would use binge typically if we can find it. That's a, you know, pre-starchy potato, but you can use whatever you have. Finishing touches on the Hachis Parmentier are usually the cheese, right? So it's a sort of a gratin, almost like gratiné. So usually I use cheese on top to kind of cover it, and then you put it in the oven. So essentially it's mashed potatoes, whatever meat you have left over, that's what I do. Leftover meats, you know, chopped up in small pieces. You can even use a food processor if you want to make it smaller. I kind of like the hand chopped meat. You know, it has a little more bite to it, but it's, you know, it's good either way. So mix the meat with the mashed potatoes. A lot of recipes would call for a layer of the meat at the bottom and then the layer of potatoes on the top. I kind of like mine mixed so that, you know, the potato gets the meat, taste. Okay, so we have a bit of bacon, a bit of chicken, a bit of pork, maybe a couple pieces of ham, and then all the cheeses also are there. I've probably already mentioned that in the past, but when I cook, I kind of like to mix things. So it's nice to have like 2-3 different meats for the Hachis Parmentier. I just feel it gives it, you know, more taste. Same thing for the cheeses. When I do a gratin, I do like to use 2-3, you know, kinds of cheeses if I can, just a little bit more flavorful. Now again, if you only have, you know, one type of cheese, if you have the old, you know, shredded mozza, you know, in the fridge, just use that. It's fine. You know, it's gonna be good no matter what. Okay, so let's start cooking. So I guess we have to peel our potatoes, you know, make our puree or mashed potatoes. Then grate a bit of cheese. I have some shredded, but I have some that I need to grate. Chop up the meats, and then, yeah, put it all together. So let's go. So for my cheese, I have a piece of some kind of Swiss Gruyere. It's in French we have l'Erdamer. I think this one is another one, but oh yeah, it's here. Strasbourg it's called, but you can see it's just a piece of gray cheese. And then I have some Parmesan, and some shredded mozza, just basic mozza. And I also have a little bit of Oaxaca, which is you know, queso quesadilla essentially. Oaxaca, my piece of Swiss basically, and then the rest of it is already shredded. So okay, so now you can hear those potatoes are cooking. So I put a timer for 15 minutes. And sorry for the noise in the video, it's just the way it is. Okay. So for the cheese, again, you can just grate it on a, you know, with your grater, I guess, whatever it's called, mandolin type of thing. or you can just, you know, use your knife and chop it up in fine pieces. Yeah, it's not a big deal. What I like to do when I prepare parmentier is start with garlic, clove of garlic, and then I rub it all around the dish. Just gives it a little taste. I don't put garlic in the dish itself. I just like rub the serving dish with it. And yeah, it gives it a very faint, you know, little bit of garlic taste. Also kind of sanitize your dish too. That's sort of a habit I have when I do like especially potato dishes. Okay, once this is done, then I will rub it with butter right now. And again, you can use salted or unsalted, depends. If you use salted, then, you know, don't salt your dish as much. But I mean, again, this is just to rub on the side of the plate, so it won't really affect your seasoning. All right, so mashing the potatoes. Get some of that vapor off. And what I like to do for my mashed potatoes is just milk. So I don't really put any butter or cream. You can do all that if you want. I just do milk, make it simple. At this point we're ready. We have the meat, we have the cheese for later, and then we have the potato. So let's just put it all together. So preheat your oven at, I put it at 400, like pretty hot, because obviously like this is all cooked, right? The potatoes are cooked, the meat is cooked, right? So there's no real need to cook. So really the oven is just gonna serve to like reheat everything, melt the cheese obviously, and then we'll finish it probably with a bit of a grill, you know, from the top, the heat from the top just to. So like I said before, like a lot of people would put a layer of meat at the bottom and then the potatoes. Me, I like to kind of mix them. All right, done, done, done.
It smells so good.